I can't get that driver is so good for me. The TSI 3, I cannot find a better driver, and I put up against the Stealth.
All right, everybody, how you living? Here we go, episode 102. At some point in time, we'll stop counting episodes until we get to episode 111, which is the ultimate reveal with something Tony has planned.
Put that all on my lap, sure.
Wait, I don't know.
Right?
I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
well-
a good thing or a bad thing. The ultimate reveal. I don't know if I'm scared or
Well,
terrified
full
at the same
Monty.
time.
Full Monty. Anyway, this episode, we got Harry Nodwell back. People thought he was dead, but we're going to talk to Harry. And I want to know what role...
Harry.
Or
I want to know what role...
Harry is probably the way that I have to say it so people understand. I get Aaron a lot. It's bad.
But I also want to know what role golf equipment manufacturers should play with all of this LIV, LIV, golf tour, etc. People have focused almost exclusively on the people and the players, who they are, etc. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the equipment manufacturers because that's a little bit of our world. But before we get into that, Harry, how you living? What are you doing? People thought you were dead. You are not.
I'm not. I'm alive. I didn't get deported, so I'm still here.
Once upon a
should
time,
you?
that was not guaranteed.
Yeah, that was not guaranteed. Yeah, it was a tough time. Anyway, but I'm still here. Still doing the soft goods, still writing articles, still testing, and still running the test facility here in Yorktown, Virginia. So everything that you see coming out of this studio is coming out of me and Philip's eyes, along with Tony looking at the data as well. So we're rocking and rolling. Yeah.
Well, and one thing, you just played in the U.S. Open qualifier. Obviously, people that have paid attention know that you are our best player on staff. You're a plus whatever handicap. Sometimes, most of the time, it's not all the time. But you just played in a U.S. Open qualifier. Maybe didn't go exactly how you wanted to, but I want to key into two questions there. Number one, what was your bag setup? Because, the only reason I asked is what's in the bag, for tour players, who cares? I mean, for the most part, right? Tell me what you're, tell me what you're not paid to play. Don't tell me what you're paid to play. We're not paid to play any equipment. It doesn't matter. We test stuff. We put what is absolutely best for each of our games in our bag. What did you play? Like, what's your bag setup look like right now?
It's been pretty solid for a good while now. The only thing I've changed is a wedge, but I'll get into that. So basically, from the driver up, TSI 3, now I've tried to tinker around with that and try to get rid of it. Not really. I can't get that driver is so good for me. The TSI 3, I cannot find a better driver, and I put up against the Stealth, and it still was just straighter, just as long, ball speeds maybe slightly a tick hair lower, but I didn't care. It was the TSI 3 for me. It is unbelievable with a graphite design IZ shaft in there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, pause.
Yeah, let's...
Can we pause there real quick? Because two questions. Number one, people were all up in our grills about, MyGolfSpy staff went to TaylorMade and everybody had their best ball speeds ever was Stealth and blah, blah, blah. How come you're not, maybe a second on why you're not playing that? And then I know we had talked a lot about Ventus, which we've heard a lot about, but I'm sure Tony has some questions on graphite design IZ? Question mark?
Yeah. So I have played the Ventus Black in there and tipped it an inch. I just felt like it was a little bit too, not loose at the bottom, but soft-ish.
Ventus Black tipped?
Yes.
Soft?
Just a bit soft. So when I had those miss hits, the spin weight went up just a little bit, and that was with a Ventus Black. It wasn't a blue or red, so that was a black. So I just couldn't quite get into it, and it couldn't quite beat the graphite design IZ6X, I think, or maybe 6X.
That's odd, because the IZ is definitely softer at the tip.
Yeah. However, what I like about the graphite design is if I go after it, it doesn't lag behind. It kicks correctly all the time. If I smooth it, it kicks correctly at the same time. If I try and go after the Ventus, sometimes it lags just that little bit behind and ends up coming a little bit spinny out to the right. Now, that could also be me. I'm not saying it's the shaft, but...
No, everything's individual.
Yeah, the importance about shaft and a head, and why I like the shaft and head combo that I have in there, is my mishits from a driver from middle of the club face to, say, a low spinny shot or a high toe is about 500 revolutions. Now, you can't beat that for me. And that's the head and shaft combo. When I did it with the Ventus Black, it was a little bit higher variation. So I want less variation in that spin rate. So those two head combos. Like, for example, when we went to TaylorMade, we did the Stealth. I've never tried the Lab... the Lab shaft, right? The
LA Golf.
LA Golf.
La Golf.
La Golf.
La Golf.
I've never tried it before and hated the shit out of it in the Stealth. Hated it.
Interesting.
And then the next day we went to Cobra, had the exact same shaft in the Cobra head, felt amazing. So it's a lot to do with the shaft and head combo and that combination of marrying those two up. And for me, the graphite design was just no contest.
So two things that everyday average golfers should pay attention to. Number one is that your misses matter, right? Like making your misses better is a huge part of fitting. Number two, that ball speed is important, but it isn't king, right? At a certain point. Now, granted, you have a little more to play with than the average Joe, right? I mean, you're pushing 180 miles per hour ball speed. Tony and we like to live in the low 160s. Like, we might be willing to sacrifice a little more ball speed for, a couple things. But
remember when 160 was good? Like, you'd have been happy with that, and then you're on with Harry, and you're like, oh, I suck.
Yeah, I remember you guys got pissed off when I hit my the stealth the stealth hybrid. I think I got to your.
No, it was at least a 3-wood.
Yeah, it was.
It was at least a 3-wood. All right, move us through your irons and then into the wedges. What do you got? And then we're gonna get to the.
Well, I'm gonna say 3-wood. I've got the M5 3-wood with a Ventus Black in there too.
Right, he's got that older than dirt 3-wood.
Well, I did.
Right? What do I say? Like, that is the hardest club in the bag, I think.
People. Well, for a long time, right? I had a rocket balls in there, the stage 2 rocket balls with a Bayou from our dealer shaft in there, and it was a 90X.
By somebody.
90X Bayou, like proto. I love that shaft. Really, really did.
Was it an Ozic? Matrix Ozic? Was it?
No, it was. It was, it's a blue. Yeah, it was an old. It's like 15 years old, but like I said, I couldn't marry up anything better. And recently, I went to the M5, which I had in the bag a while ago with the Ventus Black, and stable as can be, I can hit it off the deck, which I find it hard to do with some 3-woods, is actually hit it off the deck. So can't complain there. Love that. And then I go to a Titleist U505 driving arm with a graphite design driving iron in there, extra stiff IZ7X. Yeah. If I was going to change anything about that, I might tip it half an inch. It's playing
tip everything,
but it's playing right now. It's playing so good. If I go after one, I might get a little bit too much draw into it, and it turns into a power draw. But what I like about this iron is it's so impressively easy to hit off the deck. It's like hitting a 7-iron for me. I can launch it high, and it kicks really, really nice combo. So that's why I haven't done anything. If I go after it, I'll just aim a little bit further right and try and power draw it around.
Tony, do you have a power draw?
Yeah, it teeters, right? Some days it's a nice little power draw, and but it's a fine line. It crosses over to snap hook pretty quickly.
I have those too. I think everyone does. So yeah, I got that utility iron. The reason why I haven't got a hybrid in there is because I haven't found a hybrid that I cannot stop going left, just because of my strong grip. So I prefer a little bit more of a driving iron for that instance. Going down to the irons, I've got 4-iron down to pitch and wedge of Strixon ZX7 up until
letters
5-iron, and then I go into the 5s for like a little bit more forgiveness up top.
And talk to me about your iron shafts, because this is where it gets
might be the most important thing about those irons is the shaft.
Talk to me.
I'll talk to you, Chris. So this was 2 years ago, right? And
somewhere in there,
maybe pushing 3 now. We went to the PGA show, and Fuji was there, and we're at Top Golf, and they had some graphite shafts in there, and I was just playing around with them, and as soon as I hit them, I was like, well, shit. This feels better than a steel shaft. It's not as heavy. However, my dispersion went from this to like this. It went from a wider cone to a tight cone. And that was
one thing to do like at Top Golf
with,
some fajitas and adult beverages and whatever. That's okay, fine, whatever.
So then I was really intrigued, and I was speaking to them. So then I got them built for my set of irons back, and I was using Strixon 565s and 765 combo in there. And then I got them in. I was like, well, goddamn, I'm going to have to play graphite irons in my iron. And I'm never, ever going back to steel anytime soon.
And you're obviously, this is from the department of obvious statements. You are a high swing speed player. You are 120 plus with the driver. So your irons are commensurate with that. You're not eking into that middle range. So you are putting a tremendous amount of force and twist and torque on the golf shaft. And you're saying, hey, I'm seeing that these iron shafts are giving me better dispersion, better, more consistent launch conditions, and playing competitively. You say, okay, this makes sense. However, what happened with that original installation?
So one of my buddies that installed it, because, all right, so they all come parallel tips. So for people that don't understand parallel tips, they all come as a 2-iron length. Okay, right. So they're all 2-iron length, 2-iron kick points, all that kind of stuff. So what you have to do is actually do in 1/2 inch increments. So the 2-iron is going to be 0. You just cut to the butt from the
off
butt length.
The tip. Yeah.
No. So 2-iron is 0 off the tip.
Right.
But you cut to length off the butt.
Right.
And then for every club down, you add 1/2 inch off the tip.
Off the tip, though.
Off the tip, and then cut to length off the butt. So blah blah blah. So
blah blah blah.
Blah blah blah.
So you got 3-iron is 1/2 inch, 4-iron is 1 inch, 5-iron is 1.5 inches.
6 is 2, 8 is 3, wedge would be 4.
Yeah, all the way
math.
From the tip.
Math.
From the tip. So when I was playing them, I was like, coming down to the shorter irons, I was thinking, all right, so my side spin is a little bit too much now. Like it's within like 900 to 1,200 revolutions of side spin. So that equates to like, hey, it's starting left and kind of like drawing too much. So I'm missing greens a lot to the left. So I was thinking, all right, all this time I was thinking, hey, it's me. I'm just getting too handsy with it in the shorter irons. Come to find out, so my 4-iron that I have in there is like a solid stiff, like in between a stiff and an X. And then all the way down, progressively getting down to my pitch and wedge, I'm now in a soft reg. Because of
You're
the
almost
because
playing
of the steps,
like amateur flex.
It was like an R2 soft reg in my pitch and wedge, and that's why I was wondering, why the hell is it going left? I feel like I'm controlling my hands. I'm like leading it open and this, that, and the other to try and stop it from going left. So I contacted the guys at Fuji. I was like, hey, I don't know why it's going left. And he says, send me a picture of your, line them all up on the, bit,
right.
Like you can see
Show me
right here. So I line them all up. And all of the the graphics on the shafts are all perpendicular,
perfectly lined.
perfectly lined up. And he goes, "How the hell have you been winning competitions? Anything? Or how the hell have you been doing it with these shafts?" And I said, "Hey, what's wrong with him?" He said, "Well, you are playing an it's like a soft regular in your pitching wedge, and it's a firm stiff in your four iron." I was like, "All right, that makes sense." And everything just went off. And I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
Like,
soft stepped.
So I got them to cut a load, like cut them correctly, and send them. So they tipped them correctly. They sent them back.
Thank you, Fujikura.
Yes, thank you so much for that. You have really saved my life. And so basically, I got them in, and then I was like, "Oh shit, this is even better, right?" So this is even better than my dispersion was, and so my dispersion went from this with steel, this to the graphite that wasn't cut correctly, and now this to actually cut and built correctly.
So will you ever go back to steel shafts?
Not unless there's a huge revolution in steel shafts. Here's what I like. Here's what I like about the graphite. Okay, is the torque in the shafts. All right, they feel more stable than steel. I can still feel the bend point, even though that steel you can get those like the rivets in there, so you can feel like the kick and bend throughout the shaft if you load it. Compared to a single one plane Project X.
Right.
See, I've gone away from Project X shafts.
X, I
can't remember what they even have.
You got your LZ, right? You got
so they're all like single like mold, right?
Well, you got your step shafts, all those different options.
So I like that I can still load the shaft and feel where the head is with the Fujikuras. Coming through the rough, it is more stable through the rough, for me, at least that's what I have found. So I can hold the face, and it's not kicking differently. It's not lagging behind. Whether that's true or not, it's just the way I feel. And it's coming through, and it's really helping it to go through because of the torque of that shaft. I can knock them down. I can hit them high. I can hit them low. I can hit a stinger. Just like I can.
No shot you can't hit without them.
Just like I did in the steel when I had them. However, I've saved 15 grams, so I'm swinging them faster, getting more distance.
That's what you need is a little more speed.
I do need a little bit more speed. Yeah. So I'm actually swinging them faster, but more stable than a steel shaft. It was just.
So you're never going back.
If anything, I might, if anyone comes up with an extra couple of grams in them, so maybe up to 120 grams, 125, maybe, then I might give those a go as well. But I'm never ever go to the X100s, 132 grams, because I swung them again. I was like, why the did I ever play these shafts? They're so heavy, and I'm so tired of swinging them by the end of it.
A little bit of foreshadowing there, where there is a rumor out there that Fujikura might slash will be coming out with
it.
We'll see. We've been hearing. I mean, Mitsubishi has had the MMTs, which have dominated because they got them in that 125 TX, which for the DG X100 X, Nippon Modus 125 / Project XLZ 125 type of people. This has provided a suitable replacement in the weight category, but Fujikura says they have something on the way. So,
all right, well, we'll see what happens
TBD.
There. We shall see.
So from there, from the graphite in the irons, I then went to. I have SM9 wedges, 50, 54, and a 60.
Okay.
The only thing that I changed about my 60 was the bounce.
What'd you go to?
I went to 4 degrees of bounce.
So you went to the L grind.
Yes.
And what were you in before?
I was in an 8 degree of bounce. But
M grind.
Yeah, I like to open the face up, manipulate it, kind of hit lots of different shots. So whenever, for whoever is out there, if you're opening the face and trying to hit those shots, you're now adding extra bounce onto that already 8 degrees of bounce from at least mine. So I was basically effectively hitting 12 degrees of bounce or 10 degrees of bounce. And that leading edge, instead of it being like lowish to the ground and I'm open up,
flush with, yeah.
I'm now hitting the low. So you got middle. So I would say quarter way down the ball, I'm hitting that ball now. So I'm not getting a consistent strike and it's bouncing into it and I'm not getting the stop that I want. So I was a little bit, why the hell is this? So now with the 4 degrees of bounce, it was just like night and day for me. Playing on firmer condition courses, but even though it's some courses that are not as firm, I still like that versatility where I can hit one low, I can hit one open club face and spin it, I can hit a normal chip shot, whatever I want to do, I can do it with that 4 degree of bounce.
Tony, sounds like a T-grind candidate.
Oh, and I've hit a T-grind, and that was naughty. That was a normal.
They say, I've asked. They say that by the numbers, right? Greater percentage does better with the L grind than the T grind, which is why the L grind is in the lineup, and the T grind is you just gotta wait for it to show up.
However,
on Wedgeworks,
I did go and buy one on Wedgeworks on Titleist's website for the T grind for the SM8. I could not wait, and I went for the SM8. So I'm waiting for that to come in. I bought that.
Hopefully,
and I was like, it was so good, and I love that T grind.
So that's a lot of equipment stuff, which
I'm guessing.
Thank you.
U.S. Open time.
However, actually, I will add that I've got graphite in my wedges too.
What?
Yeah, I got the MCI solids 125s from Fuji. Yep.
Interesting. All right, so you are graphite throughout the bag,
apart
all the way through. We may get there in just a minute.
Okay.
All
right.
Hold tight. So we've heard an awful lot about the Saudi Golf League tour. People have focused largely on the individuals rumored to be playing in. Some have asked for the releases, etc. I'll throw a couple names out there: Lee Westwood, Sergio Garcia, Ian Poulter, Kevin Na, Adam Scott, Martin Keimer, Phil Mickelson, so on and so forth. And what I want to, Tony, I want to start with you on this one. We've talked an awful lot about the people, and a lot of the media has focused on the individuals. Sergio, within the last week or so, say, "Oh, I can't wait to leave this tour. Oh, this is so terrible. Whatever." What about the manufacturers? What about the equipment companies, in the sense that we saw that an awful lot of people left, particularly Phil Mickelson, very, very quickly, regarding some of his comments. How do we feel about the equipment manufacturers and their role in this particular evolving debacle moving forward? What do you think, Tony?
I don't know that they have a direct role. Yeah, it's tough, right? You would, maybe in an ideal world, you would see manufacturers go, you know what, we draw the line at this. If you're going to play in this series, this Saudi Golf League, Live Golf, whatever we're calling it this week, then we no longer wish to be associated with you. And certainly we saw that. I think Dustin Johnson, when he played in Saudi Arabia last year, one of his sponsors asked to have their logo removed. So I think there is an element of, hey, do we want to be associated with this? To use one of my favorite terms, I've applied this to Phil Mickelson in the past, but I think it applies to this situation. Do you want to be dead hooker adjacent? And so, I think if we want to say that the Saudi Golf League here is the dead hooker, do you want to be caught next to that? Do you want to have potentially, if you're Ping,
how close do you want to be?
Right. Let's use Ping as a specific example. Let's say Lee Westwood wins a solid Saudi Golf League event, and he is standing there right next to MBS or whoever the Saudi government representative is, handing him the check and the trophy. Do you want your logo next to that? So I think that's going to be the big question,
but
because
that's a very real consideration. Right?
It is.
That is, let's play that out for a second. So whether that money is, that obviously connected from point A to point B to point C. So, and I think Lee Westwood is a perfect example because he is more or less a lifelong Ping ambassador, right? Not unlike a Bubba Watson, who is synonymous with the brand. And obviously, if they're going to play in tournaments, they need to use some equipment, right? Like they need to use, 14 clubs, balls, gloves, etc. If and when one of these people should and or will win, there's going to be a functional amount of publicity with it. And, right, written into most contracts, contracts are these opportunities for players to capitalize on that, right? Like Max Homa for winning Wells Fargo will get a little bit of a bump from some of his sponsors because, hey, guess what? He won a tournament. That's great for Titleist. That is great for FootJoy. Obviously, he's pretty much entirely under a Acushnet brand, but there are winner bonuses within there. So, Ping, yay! Lee Westwood wins this event, and here's a bone saw.
Yeah, I think, and there's going to be a few things at play. So the first, I don't think you'll see manufacturers draw a firm line in the sand. It would be nice if a manufacturer took a stand and said, look, if you play in LIV, Saudi Golf League again, whatever we're calling it, we will no longer have you as a brand representative hard stop. I don't know that you're going to see anybody do that. I'll touch on why I think that is here in a second. But I think the bigger piece here is you'll see it sort of finessed into contracts. And before I get to that, it is interesting. Maybe somebody takes a stand and say, like, what is the reason why golf brands go to the PGA show every year? Like, what's the support the PGA of America? We're going to support the PGA of America. I don't know. Obviously, that's a different organization than the PGA Tour. I don't know to what extent they'll say,
concept.
Hey,
yeah,
we're going to support the PGA Tour, and as part of supporting that tour is we will not pay you to play on another tour. Now, connected to that, I think just about every player that has an endorsement deal, that is tied to a number of appearances.
Sure.
Presumably PGA and likely European Tour appearances, basically stuff that matters, stuff that people watch, stuff that is on TV, stuff that doesn't piss a segment of the population off. And so I think what you'll see there is these Saudi events simply will not count for the contract. So you're going to see players presumably have to find other ways to reach that threshold where they actually get paid. But I think, fundamentally, if we're trying to predict what manufacturers are going to do, manufacturers care about two things. They care about two things. The first is money, right? They want to make money. The reason why they pay endorsement contracts, the reason why Lee Westwood is on staff isn't because they love him necessarily. I'm sure, maybe somebody loves him, but the idea is, hey, we pay you to wear a Ping hat and pay Ping gloves, and at the end of the day, we get that back because, hey, you get seen playing our clubs and wearing our hat, and people want to buy that, et cetera, et cetera. So money is a huge factor. The other factor here is optics. What does it look like? And that brings me back to, hey, do I want my logo as part of this sort of the money shot, if you will, right? Coming out of this. And so I think as this becomes a reality, what you're going to see is manufacturers weigh those two. Like which is more beneficial? Does the upside, does the potential money we can make ourselves from this offset the optics? And if we do see that tilt where the optics are so bad, companies start to feel like, hey, our logo on this guy is costing us money. Call it the Patrick Reed scenario in a lot of cases. Right. You may see them, again, find ways to finesse that in contracts, or it could be, hey, play in these Saudi events. You still have to hit your tour threshold as far as our contract goes. This does not count. And when you're playing in these events that probably nobody's going to watch anyway, don't wear our stuff because we don't want our name on your hat here. Yeah, we don't want our logo on your bag. We want as much distance from this. Hey, you're an independent contractor. Do your own thing. Leave us out of this. This is not part of our deal. Period. Yeah. So I think that's what's going to happen. But again, it's money versus optics and how close you're willing to be to the dead hooker.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is, this is like one of those, it's like filming something in real time. We don't know. We don't know how all of it is going to play out, but the players that are rumored, right, it kind of goes throughout the entire industry. It's not like it's just going to touch Ping or Callaway. I mean, those are the first two that jump up, obviously, with Phil, Lee Westwood, Louis Oosthuizen, etc.
Sergio, TaylorMade guy now, right?
Sergio's TaylorMade. What kind of ball do most
Titleist. Everybody is going to have to figure out what the response is to this situation.
Yeah. So, Harry, I want to turn to you for a second, ask you this question. As someone who had turned professional, etc., I'm going to give you a $20 million check. And in order to achieve that, all you have to do is commit to this Saudi Golf League, what you know about it, what you don't, for the next, couple, 2-3 years. How tempting is that?
I mean, obviously, it's $20 million. It's going to be incredibly tempting. For me, I would stick by my morals and say, no, I'm not playing in it. Even though
$20 million.
Yeah. Because it's...
because for you, and this is kind of the thing that whatever bullshit excuse I guess credit to Lee Westwood for saying it's about the money if we have to give credit to somebody for that. But
minimal
for you, Harry, $20 million is life-changing money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But for the rest of these guys, to say, hey, $20 million is a nice, it pads the bottom line, but fundamentally they don't need it. They're already, Lee Westwood, if he never competes in another tournament, is set for Sergio Garcia is set for Phil Mickelson, maybe not with what we're hearing about the gambling situation, but most of these other guys are in good shape. So
here's what I would do.
Harry, you would walk away from the 20 mil.
Here's what I would do. If I took the 20 million, say I took 20 million, right? Anything that I had earned or the $20 million, I would donate to the people in that country that are suffering. Like, I would literally turn around and do that. I get to play golf for free, live life, but I would donate all of that money to that country and those people who are suffering. That right there is enough for me. I just have the morals that, yes, $20 million is a shit ton of money. And it's life-changing to me, but why is it me that is going to be life-changing? The people who are affected in that country, their lives are affected every single day. So if I could help someone or some people with that money, I'm going to do that. That's the only way that I would play in that league if I was allowed.
Yeah, I want to say it was Robert McIntyre, maybe, Titleist staffer that came out recently, basically said something to that effect of like, hey, I effectively have everything I need. Like, you kind of went down the list of, here's how I can pay my bills. Here are the different amenities that I have, the access to different things that I have. He's like, I live a great life. That is far more than I need or I want. And I really count myself as lucky to be able to do what I do already. For what reason would I take this additional money at the risk of, questioning or needing to put my morals aside, right? And say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and align with these people because I want A, B, C, or D. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a conundrum, obviously, on the player side. But, I think, again, back to the corporations, at what point in time, and I think, Tony, I think it's really insightful to point out that this optics as opposed to revenue, right? Which that's what marketing, right, is based upon, is this idea of, okay, how many people see this Ping hat, on a particular telecast or whatever, as opposed to people associating that Ping hat with a murderous regime, right? Like
the bone saw brigade.
And this is not something these companies have had to face before. So how are they figuring out what is that cost benefit analysis? How are they going, okay, we got ways to figure out some of these different things. Like, yeah, that, so-and-so being, Titleist is sitting there yesterday with Max Honma, right? Final round, battling, down the stretch. And you go, okay, here's how much that TV time was worth, right? How much negative? Yeah, I mean, It's like,
well, and there's an element of likability that plays into all this kind of behind the scenes. If you know, Tiger's kind of a different animal entirely, pardon the pun, because he was just so far beyond everybody else in what he could do. But beyond that, when you start to look at the other players that it's probably not even fair to say move the needle, maybe get it to wobble a little bit. Probably Ricky Fowler at one time was certainly next on that list, and that was because he was seen as exceptionally likable. Max Homa, right, comes across as an exceptionally likable guy.
Oh my word!
That same guy playing for the Saudis is less likable. It doesn't matter who it is. And so if you take a guy like Sergio Garcia, who arguably wasn't very likable to begin with, given the
less
history.
likable?
And so, like, hey, now you're dealing for TaylorMade. That I would argue immediately becomes negative value. So, what do you do in those situations? Because there is a balance. Again, the optics and being a likable guy playing on the PGA Tour, or sort of a guy who was tolerated on the PGA Tour. When you jump over, that influenced the optics, and I think those are the guys. Yeah, and we'll see, because we haven't seen any bona fide superstars.
No, we don't know.
Certainly nobody that's in their prime, right? Phil Mickelson.
No.
Sorry, I think we can all agree his best days are behind him. Sergio won one major, but I think
Westwoods,
fair or not, based on kind of what the expectations were for him, I think probably qualifies as an underachiever for his career, one major notwithstanding. Lee Westwood,
100%.
for many years, was at the top of the list of the best guy never to win a major. Now he's just a guy who was good and didn't win a major. And so, you are seeing kind of that sort of the landing area for really what amounts to, in many cases, career underachievers. I mean, put Greg Norman at the top of that list, right? So...
If that's the tour, like, these are guys that are reasonably easy for TaylorMade to go to Sergio when his current contract is up and say, you know what, we don't have anything for you. Lee Westwood, Ping is traditionally very loyal, but you can foresee a circumstance where they go, sorry, we don't have anything for you. If you get into that, I don't want to say, but he's like, hey, that's fine. I just got 20 million.
Exactly. And so for him, hey, I don't need this Ping deal anymore because I'm making that money elsewhere.
I don't think Lee Westwood cares about Ping. I don't think if Bubba does that, their message is, I don't care about Ping. I think, whether it's to Adam Scott or Phil Mickelson or Oosthuizen or Kevin Na or Poulter, I think their message is, I'm totally fine taking this money from here because it would far more than offset any losses I would perhaps encumber because of losing contract status with whatever company that particularly is. And so they're willing to become kind of persona non grata because my bank account is still going to be filled up by someone.
It becomes interesting if we do. And again, I haven't seen any names that really kind of make me do a double take yet. And,
No.
But, and to be clear, like, Rory McIlroy has been very direct.
Staunchly.
Exactly.
Against.
He's not doing it. But just to throw out a name as an example, if you get somebody at that Rory level who decides, you know what, I'm going to do it. That's where the conundrum for the manufacturers really kick in, because you do have a needle wobbler who is now in that position to, kind of jump to that other side, instantly make himself less likable. But again, hey, how much less likable? What are the optics on this? Where's the balance? Right. And can we still make money from this guy if he's playing on that tour? And that's ultimately the decision that is going to get made. Can we still make money? Is there financial upside in us continuing to sponsor guys who play on the Live Golf Tour?
Yeah. So speaking of really ugly things, here we go. Buy or sell. The ugliest piece of equipment that you're willing to play.
Too late.
Harry's putter wins, actually.
That improves your score. So I think this is super, because this really puts it to the test of, like, Harry, you recently had a putter switch, and I want you to talk about that. And then I'm going to ask Tony and myself, would you play the same putter if it allowed you to shoot lower scores because it is uglier than sin, right? Harry?
Yeah. It looks like a plate.
What's the Switch do?
It's like the rare implement that you can use as to kind of turn over soil in your yard and then mount it to the side of your house to improve your television reception. So it's a versatile putter, Harry. That's
Harry,
what you described.
You switched. Obviously, optics don't matter to you.
Mm-mm. No, I switched to the Lab Golf Directed Force putter that looks like a shovel or a plate or a satellite disc.
Do you have one handy there?
Yeah.
Grab it.
Hang on.
For
Hold,
those
please.
who we'll have to make sure this makes it into the video chop up portion of the program.
Yes, because it is like a
need the head
waffle.
cover off.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
It's like a waffle iron.
But you could, it's like you.
So,
I didn't even realize it had. So like it's, I don't even know. It's like PXG on crack.
At best.
I mean, it's definitely
So like, all right, let's make a heart, and then we're gonna stick some screws on it and center shaft it, and
for me, I really don't care what it looks like as long as it rolls putts in. I've never had a putter that isn't that stable. I struggle sometimes.
And you've struggled with your putting historically.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
for being a really, really good, exceptional golfer, you would admit that putting has been probably the weakest part of your game, right?
Yeah, so I'm always, if I can save half a stroke or a stroke around or whatever it may be, I'm going to play it, whether it's driver, whatever, putter, wedges, whatever it may be. So when it came to putting, I was averaging 32, 33 putts around and shooting
North of 30, yeah.
one or two under. Because I was hitting like 14 greens and just, it was frustrating. And it wasn't like it was 30 foot away, 40 foot away from the hole. It was within 25 foot and in. So you expect a 2-putt, a lot of those, and the ones that get a little bit closer, you expect a 1-putt. So I used this putter in testing in the Most Wanted putter test. And I was just like, I can't. I sometimes cut across it, so I come out to in with my putting stroke and get a little bit handsy. And I was like, I can't do that. It's so incredibly stable from back to front. Yes, it looks not great. I'll give you that one. But I didn't care because I was getting it on my target line all the time. And I took it out for the first time on the course. I had 9 lip outs for birdie and shot 2 under. So now I'm looking at...
You could have easily shot 5, 6, 7, 8 under.
And it was more to do with, all right, well, it's either pace or it's a line reading the greens for me. It's not my putting stroke. It just gave me a load of confidence.
So get right to it, Tony. If I could shave the same number of strokes off your game that I could for Harry, but you have to play and commit to playing the Lab Golf Directed Force 2.1 waffle iron putter for the next 2 years. Can you do it?
Can't commit to anything for 2 years. That's not right.
2 months is pushing it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. Like I'm for now playing what many would consider to be a very ugly putter in the PXG Blackhawk or Blackjack, aka Warthog. That's an ugly putter. It's
So is that the thing that ugly putters are going to become the thing because they work?
It's way better looking than the Lab Golf. So I mean, I don't know. Right? It's one of those things where if it works, or you can convince yourself that it works, it's easy to keep it in the bag. So I would say rule it out.
I would say it comes down to, all right, if you're a serious golfer and you want to play the best golf every time you go out and play, don't care about looks, try something like this out. Because for me, it was a game changer. But if you're going out there with your buddies and drinking a couple of beers, and you'll probably get ridiculed and mocked and banter towards that putter.
100%.
Don't
Like at
worry
some
about
point,
it.
somebody's going to
But-
sneak a blowtorch into their bag. They're just going to heat that thing up and stamp it right.
However, like
Yeah, it
Branded
looks like
lab
a
for
branding
life.
iron. Yeah.
I would play if it was me and I had banter, right, and I was putting really well, and my buddies are still shooting 85, and I'm destroying them on the golf course. I would just be laughing at them and taking their money as well and having
So
a
I was
beer.
going to say, that's the other question here is, all right, so you're kicking all these guys' asses with that putter that looks, again, like a branding iron.
Ridiculous.
Are you going to double down on
Yeah,
that?
I
and
personally-
continue to take their money, say, hey, not only am I taking your money, but I'm taking your money with a putter that looks like this.
Yeah, like my ego doesn't play into this. If I was shooting better scores with SGI irons with like hybrids throughout the bag, I would do it and laugh at you at that same time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me because if I'm making money and laughing at you at the same time, like it's a win for me.
That dinner still tastes pretty good, doesn't it?
It tastes even better when I've got a bag of hybrids and a putter for a toilet seat for a putter. That's
We got toilet seat, branding iron, but who cares because it wins.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's an interesting point. I'd love to hear what people think about that idea of form
it's
versus
ugly.
function. How does it look versus how does it play? I mean, Tony, you're an interesting one we can come back to, I think, on another episode. You'd always played a really, like the Ping ZB, something that had a tremendous amount of toe hang, a very small profile, but it really worked with your stroke that had a very heavy arc to it. And now you're in something, again, that looks, again, more like, a branding iron or something that you might try to make a stamping set with,
Yeah, I'm evolving with the putter game. It's
Finally.
yeah. Well, I mean, it was like you said. It started at Bandon when I needed to make a putter change because what I had just didn't work with the type of grass and things like that. Little things you may not even think of. Like the combination really of the loft and needing more loft on grass different from home.
Yeah.
Kind of stuck, and now we're gone from that TaylorMade Spider to the PXG Blackjack, and at some point,
Who knows what's next?
like I've got, I've had a Cobra putter here for a while, back from when they launched the 3D stuff last year.
I'm for if I find a putter that I really like. That's the only ones because obviously Adam says this a lot, right? If you want to be a professional in your say you're a carpenter and you have that hammer, you want to keep using that hammer. You're not going to keep buying a new one because the weight's going to be different, everything's going to be different. You're not going to be consistent at hitting that nail every single time. For me, putters are exactly the same. However, I do have an extra putter just lying around to put that one in timeout.
Just so it knows.
And then when I come back, it's like,
it needs to know. Your putter
feels
needs
really
to
good.
know it can be replaced.
But I have not done that with this putter and I won't anytime soon because it's just keep burning the edges. So
Yeah.
I do have something on standby, but it's nowhere near where it's going to come out into play.
So, well, and with that, find us, follow us. I'm GolfSpy C. You got GolfSpy T. Harry, how do people find you and follow you on the interwebs?
So Twitter is Old English at GSpy, and then
_GSpy.
_GSpy, and then Instagram it's Nodwell's Daily Dingers.
The Daily Dingers. So
Dingers.
find us, follow us, let us know what you think. We out.